She opened with a bite, a burger, squished and dripping, clutched in manicured fingers. Meghan Markle, seated across from Bloomberg's Emily Chang, looked straight into the camera and stuffed her mouth with food. And in that moment, we weren't watching a duchess. We were watching someone trying, desperately, to rebrand. But instead of relatable, it came off as painfully rehearsed. A former royal now playing a caricature of a quirky Silicon Valley founder who eats burgers and drops one-liners like she's on a BuzzFeed set from 2014. Meghan declared, "We're human, we eat." And Emily Chang? She laughed so hard you'd think she just heard a comedy special. Except it wasn't funny, it was awkward. This was Meghan's attempt to reset the narrative. No tiaras, no castles, just squishy buns and onion crunch. The imagery was deliberate. The burger was meant to say, "I'm just like you." But viewers saw right through it. The setting, the lighting, the dialogue, it all screamed scripted. And once again, Meghan underestimated the intelligence of the audience. Her relatability act has been her favorite PR tool for years. Cry on Oprah, wear casual linen for Netflix, post filtered moments on Instagram, rinse and repeat. But this time, it was so transparently constructed that even her supporters looked confused. People online weren't buying the idea that a woman living in a Montecito mansion with security teams and stylists suddenly craved an in-and-out moment for the cameras. And here's where it gets even more ironic. While Meghan tried to be seen as down-to-earth, her words betrayed her. Moments later, she was speaking about million-unit purchase orders, product launches, and strategic scarcity models. One second, she's licking ketchup off her fingers. The next, she's describing her business with buzzwords no average viewer cares about. It was a crash course in brand confusion, and it showed. The truth? Meghan's no longer trying to connect. She's trying to convert. This entire interview was less about authenticity and more about advertising. From the burger to the branding, every second was designed to manipulate the image. And the public isn't dumb. They've seen this act before. Several times, in fact. And it's starting to look like a rerun. Even Emily's exaggerated laughter couldn't save the scene. In fact, it made it worse. It felt forced, like an SNL sketch that didn't land. The kind of overlaughing that happens when you know something isn't funny, but you're supposed to laugh anyway. Meghan's answer? She described the burger like a first-year culinary student. It's the squishy bun. It's the crunch of the onion. It's the texture of the meat. Not exactly insightful. But the bigger issue isn't that Meghan Markle described a burger like a Yelp reviewer. It's that she keeps relying on these hollow optics. Optics that might have worked in the Tumblr era, but now feel painfully out of step with reality. She wants to be admired as a business titan, a mother, a thought leader, a royal, a rebel, a foodie, all at once. But in trying to be everything, she's become nothing specific. Just another public figure caught in the trap of her own self-created image. And the audience? They're no longer playing along. But the burger was just the appetizer, because what came next on Meghan's menu of contradictions left even her fans speechless. It started with a jar, a whisper of jam, a cozy kitchen aesthetic, and Meghan Markle declaring that her product launch had scaled so fast, they went from a few thousand jars to needing a purchase order of 1 million. The moment she said it, you could feel the collective double take. 1 million? Just like that? Let's be real, this isn't Kylie Jenner selling out lip kits in 2 minutes. This is Meghan Markle, a woman whose business reputation is built less on innovation and more on illusion. And yet, here she was, sitting with Bloomberg's Emily Chang, painting a picture of entrepreneurial dominance, sprinkling buzzwords like growth, authenticity, and organic momentum, as if she were pitching to venture capitalists rather than the general public. But once you scratch the surface, the empire starts to crack. The As Ever brand, the one allegedly scaling to 1 million units, doesn't have publicly available sales data. There are no hard numbers, no clear investor updates, no retail partnerships, just vague marketing, microdrops, and, let's not forget, celebrity endorsements. Because behind every limited jar of jam is a well-connected name with a PR package and an Instagram story. What's more revealing? Meghan herself compared the scarcity tactic to a sneaker drop, a classic marketing gimmick designed to create artificial demand. You claim the product sold out instantly, without ever revealing how many units were available to begin with. Was it 50, 500, 5,000? No one knows. But if you control the narrative, you control the buzz. And Meghan is a master at spinning scarcity into success. And yet, there's a twist that not even her PR team could predict. Internet sleuths traced the barcode of one of her most hyped products, rosé wine, back to a San Francisco-based LLC that specializes in wine gift sets. Not a posh Montecito vineyard, not a royal-endorsed label, just a standard-issue shell company. So now the illusion starts to fall apart. What's branded as a curated, hand-selected luxury experience turns out to be as mass-produced as a souvenir keychain. This isn't entrepreneurship. it's performance art. It's not the first time Meghan has tried to rebrand herself as a founder or CEO. From Archewell to Spotify, she's repeatedly positioned herself as the woman behind the curtain. But time and time again, the results speak louder than the press releases. Archetypes, her podcast, was slammed for lack of content and accused of being ghostwritten. Spotify executives reportedly called her difficult and not delivering. The deal fell apart faster than you can say audio strategy. Her track record shows a pattern: big promises, flashy branding, celebrity partnerships, and then nothing. Which begs the question, what has Meghan Markle actually built that stands on its own merit? Because it's easy to appear successful when your projects ride the wave of royal notoriety. When Netflix pays you millions, not for your business acumen, but for your name. When deals are made because of your last name, not your product. When you can drop buzzwords like authenticity and impact without ever backing them up with results. And here's the kicker. Meghan's empire is built on perception, not performance. It's not misogyny to point this out. It's not hating successful women. It's simply asking the same question we'd ask of any self-proclaimed founder. Where's the product? Where's the proof? Where's the impact? Instead, we get tightly edited interviews, glossy social posts, and vague language about building something meaningful. And now we're expected to believe there's a demand for 1 million jars and lids. But with no receipts, no numbers, and no accountability, it starts to feel less like a business and more like a brand cosplay. Even Emily Chang, who was clearly instructed to keep things light and complimentary, stumbled through moments of visible skepticism. At times, her questions seemed forced, scripted to create an image rather than reveal a truth. She asked Meghan for her with love take on what makes the burger so good, as if Meghan were a culinary genius instead of someone delivering generic feedback about onion crunch. It was painfully awkward. Not because Meghan was trying to connect, but because she was trying to perform. And that's where the entire illusion starts to fracture. If you look closely, Meghan isn't selling a product. She's selling herself, as a brand, as a movement, as a lifestyle. But the foundation is shaky. The numbers are absent, and the empire is built on borrowed royalty and curated photo shoots. A real founder doesn't just talk about growth, they show it. A real entrepreneur doesn't just market scarcity, they prove demand. And a real success story doesn't need to fake it until they make it. They let the results speak for themselves. But in Meghan's world, perception is everything, even if it's all smoke and mirrors. And just when you think the contradictions stop at business, she brings up pantyhose and ignites a debate that left viewers rolling their eyes. Of all the things Meghan Markle could complain about, royal protocol, media intrusion, racism allegations, security concerns, the one that somehow made it to her highlight reel? Pantyhose. Yes, you read that right. In the middle of a business-focused interview meant to position Meghan as a modern entrepreneur, thought leader, and lifestyle icon, she suddenly detours into an emotional rant about nude pantyhose. And not just once. This moment, awkwardly wedged between business buzzwords and faux relatability, turned into one of the most telling and ironically revealing parts of the entire conversation. With dramatic pause and theatrical timing, Meghan says, "I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time." She then sits back, waiting for the "oh my gosh, how dare they" moment. But it doesn't land. Because, really? That's the oppression we're spotlighting now? Let's get this straight. Meghan Markle, who spent 72 total days as a working royal, is still, 5 years later, complaining about the hosiery dress code. A dress code, mind you, that has applied to royals for decades. The Queen wore them. Princess Diana wore them. Kate Middleton still wears them, effortlessly, without a single tearful confession about how they stole her soul. And here's the irony that Meghan never seems to acknowledge. She didn't even follow the rule. Fashion watchers, royal insiders, and even her own fan accounts have long pointed out how often Meghan broke protocol by not wearing pantyhose, appearing bare-legged at official events, press photos, and royal outings. In fact, one of the early controversies surrounding her was how she rejected royal tradition by skipping the hosiery. The very thing she now claims victimized her was something she publicly refused to comply with. So what's really going on here? This isn't about tights. This is about optics. Meghan wants to frame her time in the royal family as suffocating, old-fashioned, and sexist. And what better symbol of oppression than beige nylon wrapped around a modern woman's legs? She's painting herself as a feminist hero, breaking free from outdated norms, even if she broke them before claiming they broke her. And then comes the kicker. She tries to make it sound like pantyhose are some relic from the Stone Age. She says, "I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in the little egg." Dramatic, nostalgic, but also wildly out of touch. Because here's the truth she doesn't want to admit. Pantyhose never went out of style. They're worn by celebrities on red carpets, by performers on stage, by models during Fashion Week. TikTok trends every fall feature sheer tights, colored tights, even faux skin pantyhose with built-in filters. And let's not forget, they're a common part of many professional dress codes. Nurses wear them. Corporate employees wear them. Airline attendants, courtroom staff, dancers, TV anchors, real women with real jobs wear them every day without launching a Netflix documentary about it. But somehow, for Meghan, it was a symbol of her being silenced. Because pantyhose are suppression, it's a stretch to say the least. What's most baffling is how Meghan presents this anecdote like it's some shocking revelation, as if no one realized royals had dress codes before she arrived. Her tone, her phrasing, her body language, it all suggests she believes she's uncovering some sinister secret from behind palace walls. And yet, everyone already knew. Royal duties come with rules. So do most jobs. Meghan wasn't being uniquely targeted. She was being asked to follow the same protocols that every other woman in that role had followed for decades. But instead of acknowledging that, she spins the narrative. It's not about tradition or formality. It's about how she was personally being stifled. But here's what makes the pantyhose saga especially absurd. Meghan's not just complaining about the rules, she's weaponizing them. She's retroactively turning her non-compliance into a grievance. She's rebranding herself as a victim of rules she openly ignored. And the audience? They're left scratching their heads. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't reject the rule, then later claim it traumatized you. This isn't authenticity. It's revisionist branding. And it perfectly encapsulates Meghan's ongoing strategy. Take something mundane, exaggerate its importance, and spin it into a victim narrative. Whether it's food, fashion, or family, she finds a way to make it all about how she was wronged, misjudged, or mistreated, conveniently leaving out the parts that show she had power, choice, and agency the entire time. Because the real issue here isn't pantyhose, it's the never-ending grievance train. Meghan is still milking a job she held for less than 3 months, insisting that she was the one trying to modernize the monarchy, even though she rarely followed the rules she's now claiming were so cruel. And if hosiery is the hill she's choosing to die on, maybe that tells us everything we need to know about the depth and limits of her royal experience. But Meghan wasn't done yet, because in her next move, she brought out the big PR guns, her children. And what she said next had viewers questioning everything. In the carefully curated universe of Meghan Markle, few characters are as mysteriously underdeveloped as her own children. Archie and Lilibet, 2 names often mentioned, rarely seen, have become more than just royal offspring. They've become marketing tools, strategic soundbites, accessories to a larger narrative. And in Meghan's recent interview with Bloomberg's Emily Chang, the cracks in this facade were impossible to ignore. It started innocently enough. Meghan tried to connect with Emily, who has 4 kids, by saying, "You know, our kids are 4 and 6. A simple, casual statement. Except it wasn't. Because if you've been paying attention, you'd know she's used that exact phrasing before, almost word for word, in past interviews, social media posts, and even during her PR blitzes. It's like she has a canned line about her children, recycled as needed to insert maternal credibility into whatever narrative she's pushing. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. It doesn't feel personal, it feels performative. Instead of a warm anecdote, a loving update, or even a genuine smile while speaking about them, Meghan treats Archie and Lilibet like bullet points. She doesn't describe their personalities. She doesn't offer stories about their quirks or growth. She drops their ages like a login password, mechanically, devoid of any emotional resonance. And the eerie part? She often gets the numbers slightly off. One moment, they're 3 and 5. The next 4 and 6. It's not the math that's suspicious. It's the disconnect. Then comes the contradiction. Moments after saying she spends so much time reading children's books, another relatable mom talking point, Meghan confesses, "I haven't really gotten into a book in a long time." Wait, what? Didn't you just say you were deeply immersed in parenting literature? Her words trail off in a now familiar stammer. I know it's hard. Kids' books. Parenting books. It's the kind of verbal tap dance you hear when someone realizes they've just contradicted themselves on camera. And that's when it hits you. The kids aren't part of her story. They're part of her strategy. Think about it. Every time Meghan has a new product to launch, a PR fire to extinguish, or a Netflix premiere to push, Archie and Lilibet make an appearance, but never physically. They're mentioned, alluded to, sometimes shown from the back, carefully controlled, never spontaneous. In her recent Labor Day playlist post, Meghan invoked the children as inspiration. When promoting her lifestyle brand As Ever, she linked it to being a mom. And when she needs to soften her image after backlash, she conveniently reminds us that she's a mother of 2. It's always at the right time, always tied to something she's promoting. And that's where the public's skepticism begins to turn into cynicism. Because while she accuses the media and the royal family of exploiting children for headlines, she's doing the very same thing. Only difference? She controls the camera. Let's not forget the incident where Meghan posted a photo of Archie wearing his school sports shirt, fully visible, exposing the name of his private school in Montecito. a massive security risk if we're to believe her earlier claims about stalkers and threats. Yet she did it anyway. Why? Because the post was carefully staged to promote an image. Cool mom, soccer Saturdays, just another suburban life. It was PR gold, but it was also a contradiction. If you're truly terrified for your children's safety, if you've fought in court to block UK security briefings, if your husband fears acid attacks in London, why would you ever reveal your son's school on social media? Unless, of course, the security threat isn't as real as it's made out to be. And it's not just about photos. It's about how Meghan speaks about her children, or rather, how little she speaks of them. No detail, no stories, no warmth. Compare that to other public figures, whether you love or hate them, who share genuine human moments about parenting. From Beyoncé to Blake Lively, the tone is usually one of pride and affection. With Meghan, it's scripted, robotic, like she's checking a box on a media checklist. Mention the kids, humanize yourself, move on. It almost feels like she keeps the children at arm's length, only close enough to use, but not close enough to risk scrutiny. And while we're here, let's talk about the infamous Netflix moment. Meghan and Harry's docuseries showed us photos of the children, but all were carefully selected, heavily curated, and largely impersonal. No spontaneous laughter, no candid chaos, just the royal rebel version of a Hallmark catalog. The kids weren't there to share joy. They were there to validate the brand. Even her late-night indulgences, supposedly a window into her downtime as a mother, feel suspiciously rehearsed. She tells Emily that she relaxes with Duolingo, brushing off the question as if to appear quirky and charming. But again, it's not the first time she's used that anecdote. She said the exact same thing in a Variety interview years ago. Same phrasing, same "I studied French in high school" storyline. You begin to wonder how much of Meghan's life is real, and how much of it is just regurgitated PR copy. When Emily presses her on motherhood and identity, Meghan pivots. Instead of describing her family dynamic or growth as a parent, she slips into the usual brand-safe line. That's something I share with my children. We use Sussex as our family name. Once again, identity over intimacy, optics over openness. And maybe that's the most revealing part of all. Because when you reduce your children to branding tools, when they become props in a perpetual PR campaign, you don't just blur the line between family and fame, you erase it entirely. And for someone who claims to have left the royal family to protect her kids from public scrutiny, Meghan seems strangely eager to dangle them when it suits her narrative. But as she stumbled through her kid-friendly sound bites, Meghan hit a wall. One that exposed an even deeper contradiction in her self-made myth, the mystery of her own name. And her next answer only made things murkier. It was a simple question, innocent on the surface. Emily Chang leaned in and asked Meghan, "Are you Meghan Sussex? Meghan, Duchess of Sussex? Is Markle even on your passport anymore?" And suddenly, the tone of the interview shifted. Meghan paused, blinked, smiled tightly, and began unraveling a confusing, contradictory explanation about her name, one that only deepened the public's skepticism about who Meghan Markle really is, and who she wants the world to believe she is. "Well, when I got married, I changed my name." That was her opening line. A strange statement considering there's been no formal press release, no legal declaration, no actual evidence that Meghan Markle has ever been officially dropped. In fact, nearly every media outlet, interview, and public event still uses it. Netflix used it, Spotify used it. Even her own PR materials still reference Meghan Markle. But in this moment with Emily, Meghan claims it's all different now. "It's a complicated one for people to understand," she says vaguely, as if her audience is too simple to grasp the nuances of titles, surnames, or marital name changes. It's not that complicated. Most people understand that Duchess of Sussex is a title, not a legal surname. And Sussex isn't a family name. It's a dukedom granted by the monarch. But Meghan twists this reality to fit her new narrative, saying things like, "Sussex for us works as our family name. It's the name we share with our children." And just like that, centuries of tradition, legal precedent, and royal convention are tossed aside in favor of Meghan's version of reality. The way she speaks about it, you'd think she was trying to rebrand an entire constitutional monarchy from her Montecito kitchen. And here's where it gets even more bizarre. She claims that Markle is no longer used. But if that were the case, wouldn't there have been a public statement clarifying it? A legal filing? A change on her children's birth certificates? Or on her own business documents? Instead, she lets the confusion fester, feeding into the very clickbait machine she claims to despise. Because when you leave your name hanging in ambiguity, people speculate. And when people speculate, they search. And when they search, Meghan trends. And maybe that's the point. The irony is hard to ignore. Meghan has spent the last few years railing against the media's obsession with her identity, her image, her intentions. And yet, she's the one constantly adding fuel to the fire. Just look at her past reactions. She reportedly bristled when Mindy Kaling failed to refer to her as Meghan, Duchess of Sussex during their podcast appearance, as if titles, not substance, were the most important part of her persona. So, which is it? Is Meghan the humble American woman struggling to navigate royal protocol and unfair scrutiny? Or is she the Duchess of Sussex, proud and polished, eager to assert her aristocratic branding whenever it suits her? The truth is, Meghan's public identity shifts depending on what she's selling and who she's selling it to. When appealing to Americans, she leans into the confused citizen narrative, talking about how hard it was to understand British traditions, aristocratic titles, and ancient institutions. She giggles and shrugs it off, saying things like, "It sounds so silly to say, and I get it because I'm American." As if that excuses the fact that she knew exactly what she was signing up for when she married into the monarchy. But when marketing to the luxury crowd, when pitching her image to Netflix, Spotify, or the corporate elite, she clings to her title like a lifeline. Duchess of Sussex becomes her entire selling point. It's the name that opens doors, secures invites, and keeps her relevant in a world that otherwise has no place for a former supporting actress from a mid-tier cable show. And let's be honest, Meghan Markle wouldn't get her half as far as Duchess of Sussex does. Which brings us to another subtle contradiction. If Meghan truly believes in modern feminism, in breaking down the patriarchy, and in carving her own name in the world, why erase her own surname to adopt a man's royal title? Especially one steeped in hierarchical, monarchical tradition? Isn't that the very system she claimed to be running from? At its core, the name game reveals the uncomfortable truth. Meghan's carefully choreographed interviews can't hide. She is not at peace with her public identity. She's still shape-shifting, still adjusting the story, still rebranding with every new backlash or headline. Her name, like everything else in her world, is a strategic tool. It's not about who she is, it's about what sells. And the most telling moment of the entire exchange? She never clearly answers Emily's question. She detours. She deflects. She delivers word salad that vaguely references dukedoms, family names, and children. But she never directly says, "Yes, I legally go by Meghan Sussex," because she can't. Not without blowing the entire illusion wide open. And that's what makes this so revealing. Meghan wants to control her narrative, but to do so, she has to constantly rewrite the past, reshape the truth, and rebrand every facet of her identity. And in doing so, she exposes herself more than the media ever could. Because the real confusion isn't about her name, it's about her need to keep changing it, depending on who's watching. But if the name game was confusing, what came next was downright comical. Meghan tried to claim American ignorance, a lack of education, and even cultural misunderstanding as her defense, while sitting on a media stage built entirely by elite access. And the result? A full-blown contradiction that no PR strategy could cover up. In one of the most bizarre and oddly specific moments of Meghan's Bloomberg interview, the Duchess of Contradictions leaned in, flashed her signature tight-lipped smile, and whispered the most humble fantasy she could conjure. "If I had total anonymity, I would go grocery shopping. Every day." Cue the dramatic pause. Meghan gazed off as if picturing herself among the produce aisles, hands deep in organic kale, maybe debating almond milk brands like a suburban mom with a Sunday morning to kill. It was such an obviously constructed image that it bordered on satire. Let's get real. This is the same woman who lives in a $14 million Montecito mansion with private chefs, assistants, delivery services, and likely a fully stocked commercial-style pantry. She doesn't do her own shopping. She hasn't done her own shopping in years. And if she did, you can bet there would be a team of handlers 2 steps behind and paparazzi miraculously stationed out front, right where they need to be for the next PR-approved photo op. But it's not just the fantasy of daily grocery runs that's laughable. It's the reason she gave for not doing them. She claims it's because she doesn't have anonymity. Anonymity? Meghan Markle? Let's take a step back. She's not hounded by the press every hour like Taylor Swift. She's not bombarded by fans like Justin Bieber or Rihanna. She's not even being chased through Montecito like a tabloid storyline from 2010. In fact, Meghan is almost never photographed, unless she wants to be. Her public appearances are so meticulously planned, so clearly staged, that when a photo does leak, it's usually with perfect lighting, perfect angles, and just enough vagueness to start rumors without confirming anything. There are no genuine candids, no unfiltered moments, and certainly no chaotic supermarket sightings. And here's where the contradiction slaps you in the face. If she really wanted to go grocery shopping unnoticed, she could. Plenty of A-listers do. From Oprah to Chris Pratt, Montecito and nearby Santa Barbara are packed with celebrities, and many of them shop at local stores all the time. No disguises, no drama, no fake speeches about how oppressed they are by their own fame. You know why? Because most people respect privacy when it's not being weaponized for headlines. But Meghan doesn't just want to go shopping. She wants you to believe she can't. That her life is so extraordinary, so consumed by attention and notoriety, that even a mundane trip to the supermarket would cause chaos. It's nonsense. And the proof is on her own social media. Not long ago, she posted a photo of Archie in a soccer shirt, clearly showing the name of his school. This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated moment of relatability. A look, we're just a normal family post. But by revealing that private detail, Meghan actually created the risk she's always claiming to avoid. So when she says anonymity is the reason she can't go to Whole Foods, you begin to realize something much deeper is at play. Meghan doesn't just want privacy. She wants attention for being denied privacy. She doesn't want to be left alone. She wants to be the tragic symbol of a woman who can't be left alone. It's a classic PR trap. Romanticize the mundane to appear grounded, while living a life that's anything but. And the "I miss grocery shopping" line isn't new either. It's been recycled before, in past interviews, speeches, and podcast soundbites. It always comes with the same dreamy delivery, the same wistful tone, like she's recalling a simpler time when she was just a girl in LA, browsing the snack aisle before her acting career took off. Except that simpler time never really existed. Even before Harry, Meghan wasn't some anonymous citizen lost in the crowd. She was already carefully curating her image, documenting her life on the TIG, aligning herself with celebrity circles, and plotting a path toward the high society she now pretends to resent. She chose visibility. She pursued it relentlessly. And now that she has it, on her terms, by her design, she's suddenly nostalgic for a version of normal that she's never actually lived. Let's also not forget the most glaring contradiction of all. Meghan has repeatedly claimed that she's growing everything she needs in her own backyard. Tomatoes, herbs, seasonal vegetables, and flowers. Her home garden has been positioned as a symbol of sustainability and independence. So, what exactly is she buying every day at the store? Lemons, dish soap, a third kind of jam? And even if you give her the benefit of the doubt, let's say she genuinely misses shopping, then what's stopping her from doing it? She's been seen at restaurants, photographed leaving events, spotted at outdoor markets. If she really wanted to live anonymously, she had the means to do it. Throw on a baseball cap, leave the glam squad behind, and head out for some eggs and almond butter. Millions of people wouldn't recognize her without the full camera-ready setup. Anonymity is a choice, and Meghan chooses visibility every time. The real issue here isn't that she can't go grocery shopping. It's that she needs to appear like she wants to. Because admitting she's comfortable in her gated world, her private jets, her staff, her curated lifestyle, would ruin the entire branding operation. It would confirm what critics have said for years, that her cries for normalcy are nothing more than polished talking points. That her image as the everywoman duchess is just a mask, one she wears when it's useful, one she drops when the cameras stop rolling. So when she tells Emily Chang that her biggest wish is to shop for groceries, it's not a confession, it's a script, a line rehearsed to earn sympathy, relatability, and distraction from the contradictions piling up behind her. Because Meghan's never been interested in living a private life. She's only interested in appearing like she wants one. But just when you thought the performance was over, Meghan flipped the narrative again, this time claiming that despite the headlines, she doesn't even read what's written about her. A bold claim for someone whose entire brand has become a reaction to every single word. It was the kind of question that should have been easy, almost flattering, softball even. Emily Chang leaned forward and asked Meghan, if you could choose just one thing that people knew to be true about you, what would it be? And in that moment, the Meghan Markle we've seen perform with smooth rehearsals and polished talking points completely froze. No smile, no charm, no witty comeback, just a flicker of something raw, unfiltered, maybe even fear. Her body went stiff, her smile dropped, her shoulders pulled back, posture suddenly upright and defensive. Hands that had moments earlier gestured gracefully now sat rigid, her fingers straightening as if her body had gone into PR lockdown. Psychologists would call it a physiological retreat, the body's way of bracing for emotional exposure. But to anyone watching, it just looked awkward. After a painfully long pause, Meghan finally whispered, "No one's ever asked me that. Except of course they have. In countless interviews, panels, and podcasts, Meghan has been asked variations of this same question. But this time, under Emily's direct gaze and amid the mounting contradictions of the interview, the usual rehearsed answer wasn't ready to go. She blinked rapidly, looked up at the ceiling, and uttered the phrase not once, not twice, but 3 times. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, each one sounding more performative than the last. And when the answer finally came, it was underwhelming. I just want people to know that I'm a real person. A real person. That's it. That's the single truth she wants the world to know after 6 years of documentaries, interviews, lawsuits, royal tell-alls, a Spotify podcast, and a Netflix series titled Harry and Meghan. After playing victim, whistleblower, activist, entrepreneur, duchess, and mother, all in the global spotlight, that's the message she lands on. But it's not just the words that we're telling. It was the way she delivered them, like she didn't even believe herself. The tight-lipped smile returned, almost frozen in place, and she stared at Emily with an intensity that felt like she was waiting, begging for validation. When it didn't come, she adjusted her posture again, fixed her hair, and nodded repeatedly while staring at Emily like, "Agree with me, say that's true, confirm that I'm real." But Emily didn't. Instead, her silence exposed what so many viewers already felt. Meghan's realness has become her most manufactured trait. And perhaps, in that moment, Meghan realized it too. Because what followed was a string of phrases meant to soften the awkward pause. Like she was trying to convince herself, "It can be so dehumanizing. There's so much written about me. My friends have to read that stuff." And yet, just minutes earlier, Meghan had claimed that she doesn't look at the press, that she's made peace with her public image, that she doesn't care what people think. But here she was, unraveling in real time over a simple question. A question that should have been empowering. An opportunity to show strength, depth, or even vulnerability. Instead, it exposed the one thing Meghan's brand can't survive: emotional inconsistency. She says she's unaffected, but her entire body reacts as if the words were knives. She says she's moved on, but she can't stop responding to every narrative. She says she's real, but every gesture, every whisper, every pause feels rehearsed to the core. And let's not forget, this is the same woman who once allowed Netflix to film her typing on a laptop in full glam as she defended herself against media attacks. The same woman who sobbed on Oprah while subtly throwing the entire royal family under the bus. The same woman who emailed editors at Forbes with handwritten notes to spin her image. But now, she expects us to believe she's detached. The performance is breaking. And it's not just about being a real person. It's about why she has to say that in the first place. Because deep down, Meghan knows that the public sees her more as a persona than a person. A walking brand, a curated image, a woman whose every word is measured, every look styled, every story vetted. So when she stares into the camera and softly says she's real, it rings hollow. Not because she isn't human, but because she's spent so long trying to convince the world that she's more than that. She's tried to be a revolutionary, a humanitarian, a royal rebel, a Silicon Valley founder, a spiritual guide, a mother of two, a woman who loves jam and hates tights. But instead of grounding her identity in authenticity, she's become a patchwork of PR stunts, vague activism, and buzzword-heavy interviews that crumble under pressure. And here's what's truly ironic. The Meghan who answered that question, nervous, exposed, and visibly shaken, was probably the most real version we've seen in years. But she couldn't sit in that discomfort. She couldn't own that vulnerability. Instead, she pivoted, back into the media machine she claims to resent. Because after that moment, the shields went back up. The vague phrases returned. The curated anecdotes resumed. Meghan was back in her element, not as herself, but as the character she built to survive the spotlight. The one who says, "I'm real," while acting like anything but. And just when she tried to regain control, the contradictions got even worse. Because next, Meghan turned her attention to the very media she claims to despise. And what she revealed about clickbait, manipulation, and hypocrisy will leave you speechless. For someone who claims the media has ruined her life, Meghan Markle sure knows how to feed it. And nowhere is this contradiction more jarring, more blatant, than in her interview trail leading all the way back to Oprah. That infamous tell-all wasn't just a personal revelation. It was a calculated media supernova, a curated spectacle of grievances, half-truths, and bombshells designed to seize control of a narrative she claimed to have no interest in controlling. But let's start with the line she dropped in the Bloomberg interview that set the tone for yet another wave of contradictions. There's a very powerful machine, and it's all about generating income. If I'm part of the SEO, then yes, they're incentivized to turn out as many stories, false or damaging or whatnot, to feed the beast, the victim narrative. Again, according to Meghan, she's nothing more than a keyword in a giant algorithm of cruelty, a passive participant in the clickbait industrial complex. But here's the thing, that machine, she's running on it. And in some cases, she's fueling it more than anyone else. Let's rewind to the moment she and Harry sat down with Oprah Winfrey in 2021. No royal has ever dared to launch such a public assault on the institution while still bearing its titles. Meghan didn't just participate in that interview, she orchestrated it. From the dramatic black and white garden setting, to the pearl-clutching gasp moments, to the perfectly timed teardrops and shocking accusations. Someone in the family had concerns about our baby's skin tone. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. It broke the internet, shattered royal PR protocols, and launched thousands of headlines. Meghan didn't just know what she was doing, she weaponized it. And yet, fast forward to today, and she's pointing fingers at that same media ecosystem, acting like a passive victim of its hunger for content. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Let's be clear, Meghan isn't just covered by the media. She cultivates the coverage. She triggers the headlines, then positions herself as a martyr for having to endure them. Her team sends out PR packages to editors. She handwrites notes to Forbes staff. She curates Instagram posts with just enough visibility to spark speculation. When she's accused of leaking to the press, she cries foul. and then launches a podcast episode days later addressing that very rumor. She is in a constant feedback loop with the press, a symbiotic dance. The predator and the prey are in a single body, and she knows it. Her entire post-royal career is built on monetizing attention. Let's look at the cold facts. Spotify signed her not for her podcasting skill, but for her name. The Duchess of Sussex was the brand. Netflix greenlit her projects because of the royal proximity. Her most watched content is still Harry and Meghan, a glorified complaint file against the palace. Even her lifestyle brand, As Ever, only made waves because of who she married, not what she made. And yet, she lashes out at the same headlines that fund her lifestyle. She condemns tabloids while giving exclusive interviews. She blames royal leaks while simultaneously exploiting every bit of insider access she has. And when the stories don't go her way, she calls them dangerous and false, but never really denies them. Because if the coverage stopped, the brand dies. In one breath, she says the press doesn't know her. In the next, she's answering them through Netflix montages and podcast voiceovers. Meghan claims she doesn't read the stories, yet her every move seems like a response to one. From Oprah to Variety, from Time magazine to The Cut, every major interview is filled with carefully crafted rebuttals to media narratives. She's constantly playing PR whack-a-mole, yet pretending she's not even in the arcade. And then she says something like this: "It would be very hard to see anything about yourself that isn't true. That's why I don't look at it." Except she does. Religiously. She monitors public perception. She adjusts her messaging. She changes her branding, from social justice duchess to Silicon Valley founder, to maternal lifestyle guru, all based on how the media reacts. That's not someone ignoring coverage. That's someone obsessed with controlling it. And here's the biggest tell. Meghan has built an entire empire on refuting what the media says about her. Every docuseries, every article, every podcast, every PR rollout has been a response, explicit or implied, to stories she says don't matter. But if they truly didn't matter, why keep talking about them? Because without the media, Meghan's narrative falls apart. Without the villain of press persecution, there is no redemption arc, no Cinderella story, no wounded duchess breaking free. She needs the media to be the enemy, so she can keep being the hero. But the audience, they're catching on. They see the pattern, the contradictions, the convenient timing. They see a woman who claims she's been silenced while simultaneously dominating headlines. They see someone who cries about clickbait culture while profiting off the very system she condemns. And if you think this is just a theory, look no further than her latest projects. With Love, Meghan, her Netflix series, was marketed as a fresh start, a move beyond the royals. But what did it focus on? Her version of her time in the royal family. The same grievances, the same tears, the same carefully constructed trauma arc played like a rerun of the Oprah interview. And yet, when the media reports that the show flopped, falling out of the top 100 in less than a week, she dismisses it as hate or clickbait. No acknowledgement of failure, no reflection, just more victim framing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Meghan doesn't want to escape the media. She wants to own it. She wants to dictate the terms. She doesn't want headlines to stop. She just wants to approve them first. So when she looks into the camera and complains about the very coverage she curated, it's not just ironic, it's calculated. Because in the kingdom of clickbait, there is no greater queen than Meghan Markle. And yet, even this elaborate media game wasn't enough. Because when all else fails, when brand narratives start crumbling, there's one last card she always plays. The idea that she sacrificed everything for love. But what if that too is a carefully spun illusion? One of Meghan Markle's most emotionally manipulative storylines, packaged, polished, and pushed in almost every interview since 2017, is this: she gave up everything for love. Her Hollywood career, her independence, her identity, all supposedly sacrificed the moment she said "I do" to Prince Harry. It's a compelling narrative, one built to spark sympathy, admiration, and perhaps a little guilt from the public who dare question her motives. But like so many of Meghan's carefully curated talking points, once you begin to peel back the layers, the truth looks a lot less like a fairy tale, and a lot more like a strategic career pivot. Let's start with the show that defined her pre-royal fame, Suits. Meghan has repeatedly implied that she left the series at its peak, turning her back on the role that would have guaranteed a decade of success. She told Oprah that she walked away from her acting career out of love. She told Netflix that she could have kept going, maybe even landed more roles, but chose Harry instead. And she's hinted that had it not been for royal life, her career would have flourished. But that's simply not what the evidence shows. By the time Meghan left Suits in 2017, the show was already on a downward trend. Ratings had been steadily declining since season 5. By season 6, episodes were drawing fewer than 2 million viewers, hardly blockbuster numbers in the streaming age. And Meghan's character, Rachel Zane, was never the central figure. The show revolved around Harvey Specter and Mike Ross. Rachel was, at best, a supporting character. More importantly, behind the scenes, there were already talks of writing her out, not because of her relationship with Harry, but because her character arc had run its course. The writing was on the wall. The exit wasn't a bold sacrifice. It was a timely escape from a show that was no longer elevating her profile. And here's the kicker. Long before her royal engagement, Meghan was reportedly shopping herself around to British high society, to producers, to philanthropic circles, to anyone who could help her transition from actress to influencer. She wasn't building a legacy in Hollywood. She was plotting a rebrand. Ask anyone in the entertainment industry, and they'll tell you, cable actors, especially from ensemble shows, don't often have smooth transitions into A-list territory. Without a breakout role or critical acclaim, many fade into obscurity. Meghan knew that. She was 35, a divorced actress with no movie credits, no awards buzz, and no upcoming projects. That's not shaming, it's reality. And in that reality, she wasn't leaving a golden ticket behind. She was betting on a new one, Harry. It worked. Overnight, she went from barely recognized cable actress to global household name. She landed Vogue covers, UN panels, and the kind of attention she never could have secured as Rachel from Suits. And yet, she still insists she sacrificed everything. Even in her Netflix show, she cries about being misunderstood. She frames herself as someone who gave up her independence, her voice, her platform, for love. But what platform are we talking about here? The Tig? A modest lifestyle blog with a small following that never broke into mainstream success? A few Hallmark movies and red carpet appearances? And let's not forget, her acting career didn't exactly come to a standstill because of marriage. She wasn't offered major movie roles and turned them down. There were no Marvel rumors, no prestige film projects, no Oscar buzz. She left Suits because she had something better. And the palace, for a time, gave her the fame she had always chased but never achieved. But instead of owning that, Meghan flipped the script. She turned it into a sob story. She tells the world she walked away from a bright future, when the truth is, she pivoted from one dead end to another opportunity. And here's where it gets even more disingenuous. If she truly gave up everything, why is she still trying to recreate it all over again? From archetypes to With Love, Meghan, from her acting ambitions to voiceover deals to whispers about returning to the screen, Meghan isn't walking away from Hollywood. She's chasing it harder than ever, only now with a royal title to slap on every pitch deck. Even her lifestyle brand is modeled after Hollywood's elite. She wants to be a Gwyneth, an Oprah, a Blake Lively meets Martha Stewart hybrid. She wants deals, prestige, and credibility. But without the years of hard work those women put into mastering their craft. And when her projects fail, she doesn't recalibrate. She blames the media, the misogyny, the haters, the palace, never the product, never the strategy. Because the "I gave it all up" myth isn't just a personal narrative, it's a marketing tool. It sets her up as the underdog, the noble woman who turned her back on fame, only to be dragged into the spotlight again and again. It's an identity she clings to, a story she can sell. Because if she didn't give anything up, then the critics are right. Then her marriage was an upgrade, not a sacrifice. Then her career wasn't destroyed, it was reborn through royal branding. And that would unravel the entire foundation of her post-palace persona. The truth is, Meghan didn't abandon a thriving career. She swapped one stage for a bigger one. She didn't sacrifice fame, she multiplied it. And every move since has been carefully calculated to maintain it. The podcasts, the deals, the Netflix drama, the interviews, the branding. They're not the remnants of a lost Hollywood dream. They're the repackaging of one. So the next time she says she left it all behind, remember this. Meghan didn't give up the spotlight. She married into a brighter one. And while that narrative might have worked early on, the public is growing tired. Because as the illusion crumbles, even her carefully constructed glamour is being outshone by someone else. And the woman stealing that spotlight, Victoria Beckham. If there's one pattern Meghan Markle has never quite managed to break, no matter how many rebrands, interviews, or Netflix specials she launches, it's this. Everyone close to her eventually disappears. From family to friends, from wedding invites to baby showers, Meghan has left behind a trail of ghosted loved ones. And while she's often painted herself as the misunderstood victim of jealousy, racism, and palace politics, the facts tell a more unsettling story. One where the common denominator is always Meghan. Let's rewind to the wedding. The moment the world was supposed to meet the real Meghan, royal bride, American princess, feminist icon in a Givenchy gown. But look past the spectacle, and you'll notice what was missing. Not just her estranged siblings, but also people she once called her best friends. Where were the childhood friends she claimed to be so close with? Where were the "same best friends since I was 17" she referenced in the Bloomberg interview? Nowhere in sight. Instead, the guest list looked more like a celebrity who's just joined Soho House than a woman surrounded by lifelong relationships. The Clooneys were there, Oprah made the cut. Serena Williams took a front row seat. Even James Corden showed up, but not Meghan's niece, not her father, not her extended family, not even her old Hollywood confidants. And Meghan wants you to believe that was all the palace's fault. In the Netflix docuseries, she looks deadpan into the camera and claims, "The guidance at the time was to not have my niece come to our wedding." A bizarre statement. What kind of guidance would discourage a royal bride from inviting her own blood? She elaborates, vaguely referencing optics and complicated family dynamics. But then she does something even more unsettling. She lets the narrative hang, unchallenged, while inviting her niece on camera to relive the snub. Yes, Meghan invited her niece Ashley to appear on the show after she ghosted her on the biggest day of her life. And rather than apologize off camera, she uses the Netflix platform to paint herself as the poor woman caught between family drama and royal obligation. It's uncomfortable, exploitative, and devastatingly cold. She didn't just ghost her family, she turned their pain into content. And it didn't stop there. At her lavish New York City baby shower, thrown by Serena Williams and Amal Clooney at a $75,000 a night penthouse, the guest list was, once again, a who's who of celebrity culture, and a glaring absence of actual family. No cousins, no aunties. Not even Doria's side of the family was visible. For a woman who constantly talks about the importance of chosen family, it's hard not to notice that her chosen ones always seem to have PR clout. Even her relationship with her mother, Doria, has raised eyebrows, while Meghan parades her as the ever-present, all-wise maternal figure. There are noticeable gaps in their public history. For long stretches of Meghan's upbringing, Doria was absent. Thomas Markle, the much-maligned father, was reportedly the one attending school events, funding tuition, and raising Meghan day to day. Yet he's been cast out, branded a traitor for working with the tabloids after she cut off contact. Was it wrong for Thomas to sell photos? Sure. But was it any more calculated than Meghan turning every single family wound into a headline? Because Meghan didn't just sever ties, she publicized the fallout. She narrated her estrangement, dramatized her pain, and monetized the breakdown. Whether through Oprah's platform, Variety's features, or her Netflix confessional, Meghan has consistently built her image atop the ruins of burned relationships. Even her Hollywood friendships haven't escaped the pattern. Reports have swirled for years about her using connections to climb social ladders, only to ghost them once she found higher ground. Several former friends, colleagues, and stylists have spoken anonymously about how the Meghan they once knew vanished once the ring was on her finger and the cameras were rolling. The story is always the same: a warm beginning, enthusiastic promises of lifelong connection, followed by silence. This behavior isn't just unfortunate, it's strategic. It allows Meghan to remain in control. If no one from her past is still in her life, there are no loose threads, no witnesses to the earlier version of herself. No one can contradict the new narrative she's spinning. Because in Meghan's world, every new chapter requires a clean slate, and anyone who's inconvenient to that image is quietly erased. So when she claims to have real best friends and a tight circle, the public can't help but wonder, where are they? Where were they at the wedding? Where were they at the baby shower? Why are they never in the frame? And if they exist, why has Meghan never leaned on them to humanize her public persona? Simple. Because Meghan's entire brand revolves around isolation and reinvention, her story works best when she's the misunderstood outsider. The woman was wronged. The victim had to leave everything behind. And that illusion only works if the people she left behind never speak. But slowly, they are. From her half-siblings to ex-friends, from anonymous staffers to old mentors, stories are trickling out. Some are petty, some are explosive, but most say the same thing. Meghan was warm, charming, and ambitious, until she wasn't. Until the invites stopped, the calls stopped, and she moved on without a word, ghosted. Every wedding guest list tells a story. Every baby shower RSVP is a reflection of who someone values. And in Meghan's case, they reflect a woman surrounded by celebrities, not relationships. Because ultimately, Meghan doesn't build bridges, she builds narratives. And the people she leaves behind, they become part of her past, not her present, not her future, not her brand. And as the fallout deepens and more voices begin to challenge the version of events she's sold the world, the question becomes, how long can this narrative survive before the truth finally catches up? In the battle of modern celebrity reinvention, there's one woman who seems to effortlessly command style, mystique, and mass market success. And it isn't Meghan Markle. It's Victoria Beckham. While Meghan flounders in a fog of mixed messaging, overproduced interviews, and failed ventures, Victoria has carved out a career that's chic, consistent, and credible. And the contrast between the two is more than just fashion. It's a masterclass in how to earn admiration versus how to demand it. Let's break it down. Victoria Beckham went from pop star to fashion mogul. She could have clung to her Spice Girls past forever, coasting on 90s nostalgia and tabloid headlines. Instead, she shut up and did the work. She immersed herself in the fashion world, took the hits when critics called her a celebrity-turned-designer, and proved them wrong with clean lines, innovative cuts, and a brand that now commands genuine respect from the industry. Meghan, on the other hand, she went from cable actress to duchess to whatever As Ever is. A lifestyle brand? A jam company? A pasta startup? A fashion line? No one knows, because she doesn't either. Her image is built on vague intentions, borrowed glamour, and inconsistent execution. Where Victoria is deliberate, Meghan is chaotic. Where Victoria lets her work speak, Meghan won't stop talking about her work, long before it exists. And here's where the glamour gap becomes painfully obvious. Victoria never needed to posture. She never needed to cry on Oprah or accuse anyone of silencing her. She never accused the media of trying to destroy her brand, even when they did. Instead, she evolved, she pivoted, she kept going. Meanwhile, Meghan still treats every criticism like a personal attack. Every lukewarm review becomes clickbait. Every failed rollout is the media's fault. She demands to be seen as elegant and powerful, but chases relatability with viral burger bites and Duolingo anecdotes that feel more cringe than charming. It's like watching someone switch masks every 5 minutes, hoping one finally fits. Victoria has one brand, Meghan has 20, and none of them stick. Let's talk about personal presentation. Victoria Beckham's style is discipline embodied, understated but bold, consistent but evolving. You never catch her desperately trying to prove her authenticity because she doesn't need to. Her fashion line is the statement. Meghan, by contrast, swings from linen earth mother to red carpet Hollywood wannabe, depending on the camera angle. She wants to be Kate Middleton one day, Gwyneth Paltrow the next, and Chrissy Teigen the day after. There's no aesthetic lane, no tone, no visual identity that feels true. And then there's the matter of credibility. Victoria is trusted. Her name means something in fashion. Her clientele includes actual tastemakers. Meghan? She burned her Netflix goodwill on a tone-deaf vanity series and lost her Spotify deal for under-delivering. Even now, her As Ever brand is under suspicion for faking scarcity and hiding its real business ties behind shell LLCs. Because while Victoria builds luxury, Meghan sells illusion, and people are noticing. Public sentiment has shifted. Meghan's attempts at glamour now come across as trying too hard, while Victoria seems to glide through elite society like she belongs. Because she does. She earned it. Meghan, meanwhile, keeps reintroducing herself like it's a Beyoncé album drop, but without the music, the mystery, or the following. And let's not ignore the PR war with the Beckhams themselves. Once close friends with Harry and Meghan, David and Victoria were reportedly so burned by private drama that they've distanced themselves completely. The Beckhams, known for guarding their reputation and family, clearly saw something off. And when people like that back away quietly, it speaks volumes. It's not just about elegance, it's about legacy. Victoria is building one. Meghan keeps claiming hers is in progress, but somehow never materializes. And the reason why Victoria's glamour lands while Meghan's falls flat is simple. Victoria doesn't need a camera to feel relevant. She doesn't need to prove she's real or misunderstood or victimized. She lets her silence do the talking. She shows up dressed like a CEO, acts like one, and leaves. Meghan shows up, overshares, oversells, and then vanishes in a puff of media backlash. One builds allure, the other begs for it. And in the end, that's the real glamour gap. Because glamour isn't just about what you wear, it's about how you move through the world. Quiet power, quiet results, quiet confidence. All things Meghan keeps pretending to have, while Victoria keeps proving she does. So the question remains, can Meghan ever close that gap? Or has the public already made up its mind?